As you know, I live in a retirement community with about maybe 1,700 people. A lot of my friends have AFib, a lot of them. I mean, they're getting ablations, they are living with AFib, some have it all the time, and I was just very surprised. I only found this out once I had AFib. I got it 2.5 years ago, and once you share that or they find that out, then they open up quietly that they have AFib. And another thing surprised me. You can have a strong heart and still get AFib. And so it always surprises you when you get AFib. That's something I learned also. So I wanted to tell you all about that. I'll tell you about my story and use that as a demonstration to tell you about AFib, what I know about it. As you know, I'm not a doctor, but I do have firsthand experience. If you never had AIB, you really need to listen to this because it could help you. And if you had AFib before, or if you haven't now, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments about your AIB experience. So, let's get started. When I was 75, I'm turning 78 this year, so that was about 2.5 years ago, and I was training for the National Senior Games in race walking, and I had a personal trainer getting ready for this, sporting event. I was in the best shape I was ever in since I've retired. And things were going really well for me. I was going to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to the National Senior Games in July. I think it was about a month before had my last sporting event, a 3K race walk. It was a big event. They had like 2,000 people in the stands and I had the event. I finished, had a good time. My times were looking really good. I was set up to get the silver medal if I went to the Senior Games. I finished the race, and you know, when you finish a race, you are winded, and sometimes you even get dizzy a little bit. And I was walking up the trail from the track to the parking lot in the front, and I started getting dizzy. I said, I better sit down. I'm going to fall down. So I popped down next to the trail, and people would stop and say, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Thanks, I'm fine, thanks." You know how you do. You know, it's always easy to see this in other people, when they need help. But sometimes we're kind of in denial when we need help. But I thought it was normal. I still didn't think anything.
Was that unusual? But I walked on up along the building to the parking lot and got my car. I'm getting better, but I'm still dizzy. I'll just take the back roads home rather than the expressway. I'm only 10 miles away. And so I did. I stopped a couple of times and pulled over and said, this is not good. I don't feel too good. And the second time I stopped, I was going to call my wife and let her know I didn't feel too good. And I noticed I had my Garmin sports watch on. You have these sports watches, and they tell you everything you want to know, including your heartbeat. And I looked down, and that heartbeat was jumping all over the place. It was like, like 99, 165, 120, 140. Like, man, this is my heart's going crazy here. So I call my wife. Now, my wife, Mary Ann, she had had AFib about 10 years, at least 10 years before then. And she said, I think you've got AFib. I knew about AFib, but I didn't think I would be getting not me. You go to the ER at the hospital. And so fortunately for us, the hospital is right next door. We got a really nice big hospital right next door to our community. So I headed home. But rather than stop at the ER, I stopped at the walk-in clinic. Now, it's through the same system, Northeast Georgia Medical Center. And I went and ate in there, and they took my shirt off and put electrodes on me. And they said, "Friend, you're an AFib." "Did you know you had AFib?" I said, "No, I didn't know I had AIB. I've never had AFib. I'm 75 years old. I never had AIB or any problems with my heart. I've got a strong heart." They said, "You need to go to the yard next door. We'll call ambulance." I was like, wow, it's right next door. I literally can drive through the parking lot. And I didn't get out on the main street. I said, I think I can drive over there. They said, "Okay, if you're sure, but you really need to go to the ER." So, I did. About 8 hours later, they released me after deciding that I had AIB, and they did every test, known to man, I think, during that time, and concluded I had A. So, that was kind of my introduction to AFib. It was quite surprising, and I didn't, know what was going on there. I would say this, just to make an observation, if you got anything like that, you think got problems with the heart jumping around like I did, don't go to the walk-in clinic, go to the ER. Me, it was disappointing, only because I did end up canceling my trip to Pittsburgh for the National Senior Games, and I really wanted to go for that. I worked so hard for that for a whole year, the best shape I've ever been in since I retired, but look at it in the positive way. I did train very hard for that, and I enjoyed that, and just the discipline to know that I could do that at 75 years old. So it was not lost. Training is kind of where the benefits are anyway. The actual sports event is just, that's the easy part. The training is the hard part, and I got that done. Living with AIB. What people don't realize, I think, is, some people can tell they're an AFib. Other people can't tell you they're an AFib. And sometimes there's occasional episodes. And that's what it was with me. They set me up with a cardiologist next door at the hospital, and he's got a very good reputation and took care of me. There will be a little adjustment period for a couple of weeks. They figure out what you need to take as far as medication goes, almost certain that you'll be taking blood thinner. For me, I went with what the doctor said, the heart doctor. I did. The irony, strong hearts still get AIB. And what I mean by that, I found out through reading research papers that senior athletes, people that really push it very hard, not necessarily endurance, not long distances, but if you really, really push it really, really hard for years, you're 6 to 8 more likely to get AIB than the general population. So, isn't that ironic? AIB is an electrical problem with your heart. It's not being strong or weak heart. It's like, I don't want to get too far into this, but your heart, beats like that. 2 chambers, top and bottom. And AIB is this continues to beat, but the top kind of goes into spasm, if you will. And the problem is there's a little pouch over here, and blood can pull there if it doesn't get pumped out and form a clot. And that clot can break loose and go to your brain, and that's called a stroke. Why will baby boomers face it more often? Well, it's because we're now turning 80. And right now, I think they said when you're between 69, there's a noticeable increase in AID. Now, when you turn 70 to 79, there's a big jump in AAIB. And when you turn 80 plus, it's very common to get AIB. My wife got AIB when she was 67, and she had it 14 years, and then she got an ablation, and she hadn't had AIB since. I got AIB when I was 75. I'm now turning 78, and I'm right there in the mainstream, I'm finding out. So, it's not, I was surprised when I got it, but I'm not surprised now. It's no reason to feel bad. I mean, this is something that happens. Life happens, and old age happens. You get older, and the older you get, the more often you will face many medical problems, including AIB. So, I just want to make this video, let you know that, if you're experiencing things with your heartbeat, you better get it checked out. It could be AFib. Younger people get AFib too. I'm not saying that. I've got 2 friends and their sons have AFib, and one's 36 and one is 42, I believe, with me ongoing monitoring by the heart doctor, and it started to get more frequent. Now, I don't get it all the time, and when I get it, I take medication, and it solves it within 1 day. I don't have it all the time. Like I said, I have it I think 8 or 9 times last year, and that's too many times. And they referred me over to a doctor that specializes in electrical problems with the heart, arrhythmia problems. And he told me 6 months ago, if the frequency increases, and it normally does, he would recommend an ablation. And they got a new type of ablation called a pulse fill ablation. And it's supposed to be a lot safer. And so right now I'm signed up for that procedure. I decided to go ahead and go with it. And if this is successful, he said, now it's a 80% chance it'll be successful, and you won't have AIB. If you wait till later and you have AIB almost all the time, as often is the case, the percentage of success rate, it drops way down. So, it's better to get it done now, in my opinion. Now, this is not medical advice by any means. I'm not. The purpose of this is not medical advice. The main thing on this, I just want to let you know, anybody can get AIB, and your chances of getting AIB are greatly increased. And just be, on the lookout. If you do have something, don't dilly-dally. Go get it checked out. If you've had AIB, please share down in the comments. Let's get a conversation started. When did you get AIB? How many times do you have AIB? How did you deal with AIB? Was it a surprise when you got AIB? And if you're just learning about this, thanks for watching, because you may be a little bit better prepared now if this happens to you than I was when I got AIB. This is Robert's Active Retirement. Join me next time. We'll have a video about an entirely different topic, and thanks for watching.